We will start our meeting as soon as we see a fifth board member, either in person or online virtually. Right now, we have 4 board members present in the boardroom, but no board members virtual. So we'll be silent until we get a quorum.
This is Trustee Ayers Wilson. I'm online.
Thank you, Trustee Ayers Wilson. Stand by just 1 second, please, and we'll call the meeting to order.
Okay, and then just FYI, Trustee Pierce is in traffic. She says she'll be late.
Okay. Trustee Ayers Wilson, legal counsel has just reminded me that we must be able to see and hear a trustee in order to be counted present and considered for the quorum. That's not my rule.
I get it. I just came back from the bus stop and picking up my baby, so I'm trying to get together now.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. There we go. Thank you, Trustee Ayers Wilson. This meeting is now called to order at 5:05 p.m. I will now ask Trustee Art Murillo, if you'd be kind enough to lead us in the pledges, please.
Yes. March. Okay. Not April.
Okay, I pledge.
Thank you, Trustee Murillo. And just for
I don't.
the record, I will note that Trustee Vogt is present, myself, Mike Sullivan present, Trustee Jim Kane present, Trustee Art Murillo present, and remote participation by Trustee Ayers Wilson. We have a quorum. I'd like to get certification of the posting of the workshop and the regular meeting.
Yes, I certify it was posted in accordance with the law.
Thank you, Chancellor Head. There is no closed session this meeting. We'll now move to public comment. Ms. Probasco, has anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. We do have one public commenter, Dr. John Bergdorf.
Thank you. Dr. Bergdorf, come forward, please, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. John Bergdorf, president of AFT Lone Star College. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. With some anxiety that I'm going to jinx things by saying this, it appears that we are finally moving towards something that looks like normal after our long, long battle with COVID. Of course, we've all learned that normal is a far more fragile and fleeting concept than we used to think. The normal we long for could be upended at any time by new threats, including wars abroad and inflation at home. Nevertheless, we have learned a great deal in our struggle with COVID to survive as individuals, as a society at large, and as a college. We have the opportunity now to contemplate how we take those lessons to transition to a normal that is not exactly the same as what we had before, but better. Tonight's meeting is a living example. Who would have thought 2.5 years ago that we could conduct the business of the Board of Trustees without all of us being in the same room? There are hints that lots of things are not going to be the same as they used to be. I have had the privilege and joy of being fully back live and face-to-face in the classroom this semester. The students I have the honor of teaching have chosen to come back to campus because they need and want a live communal learning experience. They have told me how excited they are to be back. On the other hand, a far higher percentage of Lone Star students are online than we have had before the pandemic. Those students have found that they can thrive in a remote environment and will probably remain in that environment long-term. Many of our faculty have realized the same thing about themselves, and even those of us who wanted to come back to a traditional setting are incorporating online resources we didn't even know about 2.5 years ago. It is not just on the instructional side of the house that normal is changing. Advising and counseling now happen both remotely and in person. Research happens both in our physical libraries and through remote databases. Student activities happen both in physical communal spaces and in online virtual spaces. Faculty and staff have invested and will continue to invest heavily in making a new normal possible. The results and the possibilities are exciting. Unfortunately, the transitions we have experienced have also revealed some cracks in our institutional foundation. Cracks that were there before, but have become more visible. Dr. Head has been educating us on some of those visible cracks, particularly on the instructional side of the house. Those cracks include violations of college practices and policies about the number of online classes faculty can teach in a given semester, what hybrid class formats are supposed to look like, and how overload classes are assigned. The common denominator behind these irregularities seems to me to be that we have sometimes forgotten that we are here first to serve our students and not ourselves. A task force has been formed to look at some of these cracks in our foundation. It will be headed by General Counsel Mario Castillo and Dr. Melissa Gonzalez. I am honored and humbled to have been invited to serve on this committee along with many fine colleagues. I hope this task force will be a first step, not only in fixing errors that have been made, but in revisioning what a new normal can look like in all aspects of college life. Among our current and former practices and policies, which ones are so fundamental to our mission that they are worth recommitting to? Which ones don't make sense anymore as normal has changed? Which ones can be revised and refreshed to be new and more effective? As we ask these questions, I hope we will remember that COVID has taught us how frail we all are. Even as we keep our students' needs as job one, we need room for exceptions in our policies to accommodate our own limitations as employees, as long as we can handle those exceptions in ways that are transparent, fairly applied across the system, and are accountable for review. Paradigms are shifting before our eyes, and it will be a while before we know how different the normal of the future looks compared with the normal of the past. Lone Star should be at the forefront of embracing and leading those changes. I, for one, believe that the new normal will be a better one. Thank you for your kind attention.
Dr. Bergdorf, thank you very much for appearing and for your comments. Next item on the agenda, introduction, special guests and recognitions. Dr. Head.
Desiree, just confirming that we don't have any, okay,
That's correct.
all right.
Okay, next agenda item.
Yep.
Okay.
No workshop.
Correct. Next agenda item is approval of the minutes of the March 3rd, 2022 board retreat and the March 8th, 2022 workshop and regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by trustee Vogt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by trustee Murillo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing no opposed, the item carries, and let the record reflect that trustee Stoma has joined us. Good evening, sir. All right, special reports and announcements. Chancellor.
Yeah, a couple of quick updates. Our summer enrollments are actually up. We're up 3.6% in headcount, which is a good sign. We're down slightly in credit hours, which is still an issue, but we're moving in the right direction. I'll say that. So I'm optimistic about the fall. We've been thinking for a while that it's just a matter of time till the students start coming back. And John, just to follow up on what you said, is basically that's what we're seeing. Students are ready to come back. I have just completed a total of 15 different forums across the system, and I think we're actually in pretty good shape. Morale's high. People are ready to come back and socialize again, I think. And it's nice when you go out to the campuses and see the parking lots with a lot of cars in them and see students and activity at each of the campuses. So I think what we saw with the employees is they're glad to be talking with each other again. So I'm hoping in the fall that we'll start seeing more progress this summer. And then in the fall, we'll have a large group. And we haven't started fall registration yet. We start next week. When? Tomorrow? Okay. Nobody's speaking. I can't read your lips. Tomorrow? Okay. So we'll keep tabs on that and see. We're a long way away, though. We're 60 days away from the beginning of the first summer term. So we'll see what happens there. I also spent 2 days this week in Austin talking about some of the finance issues. I was telling Trustee Sullivan, the more these meetings I go to, the more I appreciate where we work and what we have and the support of the board. I think I sent a note out to the board, but just a reminder that there are 50 community college systems in the state. 22 of them have enrollments of less than 5,000, 22. And if you took our fall 2021 enrollments, we had more students than those bottom 22. If you took the 22 smallest, we have more students attending than they have. And then there's another 10 that have less than 10,000. So there's a great part of the discussion here. And the issue is the disparity between the top 7 or 8 colleges and then everybody else in the state, and how you distribute funds, knowing that 143 out of the 254 counties lost population. And if you're trying to ensure that everybody in the state has an opportunity to have access to higher education, how are you going to do that? The property valuations range from 350 billion to 3 million across the state. If you took number 1, which is Dallas, we're 240 billion and growing, 240 billion and growing at Lone Star. I think we're number 4, number 5 in the state. But you see the problem there, though. If you've got some community colleges with a $3 million valuation, that's a problem. They rely heavily on state funding to do that. State funding for us is 20 or 21%, something like that. And so I think we've got a much better balance than obviously we do. And also, just so you'll know, the assessed value, if you took the top 7 community colleges, they have 77% of the assessed value. So what's happening again is that people are moving in that triangle from Houston to San Antonio to Austin to up to Dallas and then down. It's basically 10 up 35 and down 45. It's in that triangle. That's where the state population. So the implications for this, though, are about not only educating Texans, but it's about the workforce. There's a great deal of growth in the state of Texas, and most of that is coming from groups that traditionally do not go to college. And that has major implications for the state workforce and the economy and really the future of Texas. So that's the issue. And I'll keep you updated over that. So that's my report.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Hibb. Next item is board committee reports. We have no board committee reports to give tonight. Next item is redistricting update. And I'd like to first remind my colleagues and the public that the redistricting committee is composed of 3 members, myself, trustee Murillo, and trustee Pierce. We've been hard at work putting on our community forums and interacting with outside legal counsel on our maps. The good news is that we have completed our first round of meetings completely, and participation has been lacking, if you will, but there have been ample opportunities for the public to participate both in person, by email, and by communicating with their respective board members on the Board of Trustees. With that said, we've had, as of April 1st, and I'll read this, we've had a total of 4 general meetings open to the public and 8 in-person community forums. To date, not a single community member has appeared in person. Only 1 person has joined via Zoom for 3 separate meetings. And lastly, 1 person has commented via the website. So while there had been another round, or a second round, if you will, of community forums scheduled, the redistricting committee has discussed it. Trustee Murillo, trustee Pierce, and myself. It's our recommendation to the full board that the second round of community forums not be held because we have consensus on a map. There have been advertised widely availability for public input, and it is the recommendation that the second round of community forum meetings not be held. I'd like to ask trustee Murillo if he would like to make any comments on our work or the recommendation to the board.
Thank you, trustee Sullivan. I think I concur with, and trustee Pierce as well, that we extended the opportunity for the public to give us feedback, and we continue to be able to utilize the website and other methods to provide feedback. I am, like I shared with you, I think, well, I've had a few people and mentioned to me that essentially they recognize that it is a responsibility that we're taking very seriously, and they're deferring that for the most part. At least that's the sense that they give me, and I'm sure other people have said the same thing. Nevertheless, I think as a board, we need to continue to remain cognizant that it is a critical role, and we be responsive and careful, and we got really excellent counselor and staff providing us the guidance, and as long as we stay on track, and thanks for trustee Mike Stone as well for creating that kind of map that we're following to stay on track, and to your leadership. Thanks.
Thank you, trustee Murillo. Trustee Pierce is not present, so I'll not call on her. I support the recommendation as well, and I'd also like to just open the floor up for a moment to any trustee if they would like to weigh on this before we direct the administration to cancel the second round of community forums. And I'll ask, rather than just everybody raise their hand, I'll just call people out if that's okay. Trustee Vogt.
But I just wanted to make sure that we're not sidestepping something that is required.
Okay. We're not, we've consulted with outside counsel, Thompson and Horton, and they've endorsed this proposal.
Okay. I think everybody's had a chance to just have their say in public meetings. And it seems they're confident that we're doing the right thing as is.
Right. And thank you. And you're right. And the public will still have the ability for public input through a number of forms. I shouldn't say forms, improper use of the word at this point, through a number of avenues,
Right.
if you will. So there are still opportunities for input. Thank you. Trustee Kane, any comments, sir?
I concur with that. Given the small number of individuals that have been coming to these meetings, I think from the standpoint of good utilization of time and resources, it would be prudent to instead of meetings have the input that we've talked about, whether it's text or the website, personal conversations, whatever it might be. But yes, I would be in favor of changing the nature of what we're doing and eliminating this second round of face-to-face meetings.
Good. Thank you, trustee Kane. Trustee Murillo, you've already commented. You want another? Okay, thank you, trustee Murillo. Trustee Stomo, any comments, sir?
I concur with the decision to cancel the remaining meetings. I just want to say, I think we had a good plan. I think it's been executed well. Thompson Horton done an excellent job in organizing and executing on this. The committee has provided excellent leadership. And Trustee Sullivan, I want to thank you for your time and attention you've given to this, which is above and beyond. So I concur. I think we just need to get on with it.
Good. Thank you very much, trustee Stoma, for your input and for the compliment. Trustee Ayers Wilson.
I just want to say I want to thank everybody involved in putting everything together as far as hosting meetings at each campus, putting out the notices, just trying to reach the public as best as possible. I do understand that this is kind of like an election year for primaries and stuff, and it kind of got, our meetings kind of got involved, or I can say like overshadowed by that. But at the end of the day, I trust that our constituents know that we're going to be making the best decisions for them. That's why they put us in office. And I know whatever happens, but just thank everybody involved from the top to the bottom with everything going on.
Thank you for your comments, trustee Ayers Wilson. And let me publicly thank trustee Ayers Wilson, trustee Stoma, trustee Kane, trustee Murillo, trustee Saldivar for participating in your respective community forums. It's great to see y'all there in person and showing up, as they say. So thank you. So with that said, we'll now ask the administration to take the steps of notifying the public of our decision and public notice. And I'll just stop at that because the administration knows what needs to be done. Thank you very much. Dr. Head, is there anything you need from us to move forward?
No, just to we will update, we have already updated the web, but we will make sure that we have a news or a press release about that so that the community knows. And we'll get that out very quickly. And we'll update every piece of information that we have, and we'll make sure that the board knows.
Okay, thank you. And for my colleagues and for the public, this in no way affects the timetables that we've laid out. We will meet every deadline. We will continue to have every publicly posted redistricting committee meeting and every board meeting related to redistricting as well. So there's still work to do, and we'll get it done.
Sure.
I will backtrack just on one item with respect to board members. I'll now call on each board member to see if they have any meetings or information they'd like to report on. I'll go virtual first. Trustee Ayers Wilson, anything?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, trustee Ayers Wilson. Trustee Stoma?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, trustee Stoma. Trustee Vogt?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kane?
Yes, I had the pleasure of attending a ribbon cutting at Montgomery College last week for the Student Center and the Conference Center. And it was a great occasion, two wonderful facilities for not only the students, but community use as well. So I want to compliment all the folks that put that on, including Dr. Riley. And it was great being there. A lot of good things happening.
Thank you, trustee Kane. Trustee Maria?
No, nothing at this time.
All righty, thank you. And thanks for standing in for me last night at Lone Star College.
Oh, sure, no. And one thing about that, actually, of course, President Melissa Gonzalez was such a gracious host, and we're talking about such a nice weather and such a nice campus, and it's always good to go back and seeing the friendly faces, and so that made it extra special being able to see her and her staff up there. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, trustee Murillo. I'm now going to, I've been asked by board chair Saldivar to read a brief comment on her behalf. So this is from trustee Saldivar, and I'm the messenger, and that's all. Colleagues, I will be discussing with administration and council on our possible return of in-person board meetings. Currently, the state and county have experienced low COVID cases and high numbers of vaccinated individuals. Some of our colleagues have expressed the desire to interact with each other and miss the opportunity to meet with our constituents and students. Most of our public and governmental entities are meeting in person. Our ISDs and higher education institutions are meeting in person. Most importantly, our LSC staff will be returning to the office, and we ought to do the same. Please know that I will be sending you a note to discuss this further and obtain your consideration. Thank you, Chair Saldivar. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the consent agenda. Trustees, we have the administration has pulled item number 2. So on our agenda, we will have item number 1, item number 3, item number 4, item number 5, item number 6, and item number 7. Chancellor Head, is that proper?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And at this point, should I ask for a motion? Is that correct, Council? Okay, so do I have a motion for the consent? Well, excuse me. Are there any other items that need to be pulled by trustees?
I would like to see a little discussion on item number 3 and 5.
Okay, Trustee Voigt has asked that we pull items 3 and items 5. Are there any other items to be pulled? Hearing no other comments, we will now, Chair will consider a motion for the consent agenda for items number 1, items number 4, items number 6, and items number 7. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Trustee Murillo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Trustee Vogt. So the consent agenda item number 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, pardon me. Legal counsel has stopped me.
1, 4, 6, and 7.
Okay. Okay, forgive me. Let me restate the motion then. Motion to approve items 1, 4, 6, and 7. Okay, council's approved that. Trustee Murillo, is that okay? Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Trustee Vogt. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Vogt. So now let me, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. None opposed. The items pass unanimously. I'll now call agenda item number 3. It's been pulled. Item number 1. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. Excuse me. 2 is pulled. So then, okay, so item number 3 would be the first. Okay. 2 is pulled.
The number 3 and number 5.
But didn't you said before we voted?
We're withdrawing it, period. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
Okay, very good. We're all good. So we will now ask item number 3 to be considered. May I have a motion for item 3? We have to have a motion before we have discussion, right? Okay, so may I have a motion for item number 3?
Motion.
Have a motion by Trustee Vogt. May I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Trustee Kane. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We'll now have discussion on item number 3. Trustee Vogt.
Yes. This is having to do with an easement that we're selling for utilities that run along and adjacent to 111 approximate acre tract of land that we're not currently planning, or we don't have current plans
That's
to
correct.
build on.
Right.
And I'm all good with that, but I've got some questions. If this municipal utility district is developing downslope from our property, then there's some issues that we might want to address with them at this time about how our drainage is taking care of getting through their property, and talk to them about getting reservations for water and sewer capacity in the future, which may cost some money up front, but it should be structured in a way that if we decide not to develop, somebody else can come in and buy the property and take that, and having that set in place with the district beforehand would make the property more valuable. So
We agree. So you want to give him an update over kind of where we are with everything?
Yeah, so with regards to this property, it's correct. We don't have any current plans for building on this property. This easement, there is a residential development going in behind the property.
north of it?
And that is what is leading to the developer through the mud wanting to build in this water line and sanitary sewer system. It is along the edge of our property. So it's not cutting through a piece of it, it's along the edge of it. And yes, the actual existence of the utility going in there by itself will increase the value of our land. And in the future, as we may develop plans to build there, we will then have the ability to utilize the same utility system as well. And that would be part of the agreements that this board agenda item authorizes us.
So
to
the
negotiate.
plan for our capacity as well.
Yes, that is the idea, yes.
Okay. Because the district is tax exempt, typically municipal utility districts charge the district a capacity in the water plant and sewer plant and in distribution lines. And I'm wondering how that's been addressed and
You're going to follow up on that
Yes.
with our group?
Yes,
Okay.
I will follow up on what specific capacity usage we get in the negotiated agreement.
And then the other thing is, if their development blocks our drainage discharge without some accommodations for it, it could be a big problem in the future.
Right, so yeah, I can follow up on that as well. I mean, at this point in time, the land, all of the acreage is primarily undeveloped, all this land. But I will also check on drainage impact. I'm taking it out.
Can you
Jennifer,
do that?
this is,
We can send a note to the entire board. Go ahead.
Do we have our own engineer and engaged on these kind of things to deal with the municipal utility district?
We certainly can do so.
Jennifer, this is Mike Stoma. Is this a urgent approval? Sounds like trustee Vogt, and he's an engineer. He knows this stuff, right? Has some concerns here. Is it a sense of urgency to address this at this meeting? Can this be put off to a later meeting and get the answers that trustee Vogt is asking for?
Sure, yes. Yeah. we can
Yeah,
hold
there's
it.
no sense of great urgency. I mean, putting it off for a month doesn't make any difference. So
Then I would make a motion to put this item off until the May meeting and give time for feedback to trustee Vogt and the rest of us on his concerns, because he's an engineer. I certainly trust him and his professional opinion and think there's benefit in taking that in.
Thank you for the input, trustee Stoma. The administration understands, and if I could ask council for advice on how to proceed.
So procedurally, trustee Stoma has made a motion to postpone. We'll need a second on his motion, and then we would vote on the motion to postpone this item to the May board meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, thank you, trustee Ayers Wilson, for seconding that, and we'll now do a verbal vote on the motion by trustee Stoma. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. The motion carries. Administration knows what to do. Next item is number 5. I'd like to get a motion on item number 5, please.
Motion.
Thank you, I have a motion by trustee Ayers Wilson. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Stoma, I'll second. Yeah,
Okay, trustee Vogt beat you to the punch there.
Okay.
So
that's
guys,
okay. We're all the same team.
We'll catch you on the next one. So I have a first by trustee Ayers Wilson, a second by trustee Vogt. Trustee Vogt, you had questions.
I just had This is an extension of scope from an earlier purchase of services and I think software. That because of the COVID.
Right.
I've got really two questions. One of them is, can we use some of the COVID response monies we've received to pay for the,
Jennifer says yes.
okay. And second is, in my experiences, when a scope of work changes dramatically and the cost changes dramatically, we've been forced to, and I would say the construction industry, this is kind of things in the construction industry is my experience, that we're forced to do some kind of rebidding or something when the cost changes that dramatically. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that we're responsible for doing in that form on this particular. And I understand that it's kind of a single vendor and
It's the it's a software solution we currently use, that faculty use.
I mean, at this point in time, if the board chooses to approve this board agenda item, we would then have the authority to amend this contract and increase the scope and the funding on this contract. Once we're at the end of the 5-year contract term with Respondus, at that point in time, we can do an RFP to rebid that at that point in time.
so you're changing the scope or the time of the contract by virtue of this purchase for extended services.
Right, that is what the board agenda item is requesting approval for us to do, is to increase that scope of services and the scope and the funding for this contract. That is what this board agenda item is intending to ask the board to give us authority to do with underneath this existing contract with Respondents, which was bid right at the initiation of this contract.
But Jennifer, so the original agreement was in 2019, and so before COVID hit. So the reason we're asking for this is because of all the use we've had. We went from roughly 35,000 students online to double that online, almost double that, almost to 60,000 online. So the use of Respondus has increased proportionally. So that's why we're asking for a change in the contract.
And I understand, and I agree with that in concept. I just want to be sure that we're not ignoring any of our policies or any legal requirements.
No, we're not.
Jennifer, this Mike Stoma, forgive me.
Stoma.
I don't have the agenda in front of me. What name the software, please?
It's Respondus Monitor with Lockdown Browser, which is.
And that's used in your online college to conduct the courses. Is that correct?
Right. It's for faculty to use for any online class that they're teaching, to lock down the browsers to ensure test integrity, which is to mitigate cheating. And so to the chancellor's point, pre-pandemic, we were purchasing by seat. We had 4,000 seats that we had purchased that first year in 2019. But by the first year of the summer of the pandemic, we used over 5,000 seats. And so we're already anticipating that we're going to be have spent the original allocation year 3. So we are asking for an additional $150,000. So with an unlimited, so we're going to be not purchasing seats, but an unlimited usage amount, because all of the faculty that are using Respondus Monitor.
I understand. Just a couple more questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So that when this was purchased, it was purchased one for the service, a per seat service. And then was there support with that? In other words, if someone need technical support, for instance, for the software or user support for the function of the software, does the contract or the agreement include that as well?
Yes, yes, it does, sir.
Okay, all right. And then you were saying, you mentioned it earlier, that this is an amendment to the original contract. And when is the contract up for bid?
So it was board approved in 2019, and we're in year 3 of the 5-year contract.
Okay, all right. So you're getting an unlimited license. That's what you're doing, which should, as the college grows, cut your cost overall.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good questions, trustee Stoma. Thank you. Trustee Vogt, anything else? If not, we'll
If
move
I
to a
might
vote.
add, if I could add, perhaps a key item to think about towards your question is that we are not fundamentally changing the services that are being provided. I think that might be different is if we were fundamentally changing the services being provided. What we are changing is the volume of service being provided.
Good point.
Okay.
I think we have a clear understanding of that.
I have a
So-
question. This is trustee Ayers Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
So I understand we want to increase, but with students coming back in in-person classes, do you still anticipate you're going to need that unlimited volume? Because if everybody's coming back, then everybody's not going to be online, correct?
Yes, we are anticipating, especially with the LSE Online campus launching this fall, we are anticipating that we are going to need these additional seats. And like I said, we did the cost analysis, and going with an unlimited amount is much more cost effective than purchasing by seat.
And this is Mike Stoma. In my professional opinion, this is my business. My professional opinion, this is a good decision because it will, one, it accounts for growth, and we have to grow the online college. I mean, that is a strategic area of growth and revenue for this system. And this software is key for that. So by going to an unlimited license, most enterprises who buy enterprise software, buy unlimited licenses just for this reason. So I just want to endorse this as a good business decision and encourage you to go forward with it. Yeah.
Thank you for your comments, trustee Stoma. And since other trustees have spoken, I'll now offer a comment as well. And that's that with the unlimited plan, it gives the most versatility possible to the administration, regardless what may lie ahead of us between now and the end of the contract. You have more students, you have less students. You have more students online, you have less students online. You have total versatility to handle the needs of the students and the faculty. So we've had good discussion on the item. If there's no objection, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor on item number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. The item passes unanimously. Thank you very much, trustees, for your input. That is the end of the, excuse me, the consent agenda. We'll now move to curriculum reports and consideration. Dr. Head.
So none there. We'd move on into let's see, we've covered everything. So we can move to the financial report.
Okay, thank you. Next item is financial reports and consideration, Dr. Head. Is this an action item for me to read?
We've already. There's no other curriculum items. We're done. We're ready to move into.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, trustees. I have our monthly financial report here for you for the month ending February 28th. So here first is showing our revenues as a % of budget. As of the end of February, we have collected $318 million in actual revenues. This is 79.1% of what we had budgeted in this year's budget that the board approved this past August. You can see from prior years that is on the low side, and that really does indicate what we have already been seeing in student revenues, in the credit hours being in a decline for the fall and spring term, where we built a budget assuming they would be flat. Next slide, please. On the expenditure side, again, as of the end of February, we had spent 166 million in actual expenditures. This is 42.7% of the total budgeted amount. Here too, you can see this is also on the low side, and you will see in subsequent slides that along with our forecasted revenue declines, as we see them internally, administratively, we go ahead and make budget reductions to match. And so you can see that flow through in that percentage spend. Next slide, please. So this shows the revenue budget. We had a $402 million revenue budget, and we have forecasted that we will actually bring in 4 million less than that amount. And this is all right now entirely attributed to tuition revenues. So this is where fall credit hours was negative 2.4%. This was as of official day. Spring credit hours was negative 6.2% as of official day. We will have our next significant update to this forecast once we have the summer term final figures as of the summer official day, is where we would next update our tuition and fees forecast. Next slide, please. And as I just mentioned, as we see these changes in our forecasted budget come through internally administratively, we then make budget reductions across the entire system, all areas, to match that amount as we work to keep our budget in alignment. So we have made budget reductions of 4 million on the expenditure side. Next slide, please. Now for the spring term, I'd like to provide an update on the COVID stimulus funds. As I mentioned, the last major update I gave was for the fall term. Here for the spring term, right, in total, we have received $216 million allocation. We have just shy of 130 million of that spent so far. Within that, about 95 million has been awarded in student aid. And so you can see the breakdown here of what has been spent so far and what we still anticipate to spend, with roughly 75% of the 216 million is what we anticipate at the end of the day to have awarded to students. Next slide, please.
It's worth pointing out that we're required to spend 50% for most of these funds for student awards. So we're spending 75%.
Yes, we are spending above the minimum required amount towards student awards. And then those awards have gone to, there have been about 111,000 awards. Some students are duplicated within that number. If they are continuing from one term to the next term, they may receive an award in one term and again in the next term. So this is not necessarily separate individuals, but it is separate awards. And to mention too, that this is all in addition to the normal Pell Grants that we have of about 30 million each term, 60 million annually. Next slide, please. And then also wanted to share the distribution of the student awards as they've gone out in comparison to Lone Star College's student population. This is not a criteria for the awards. Financial need and credit hours are the two criteria used for establishing the award amounts. That does conclude my financial report, but I do have two additional items I would like to share with the board.
I just want to point out to the board that since COVID started, we've given out, I did quick math here, about 240 million in Pell and another 100 million, almost 100 million in COVID. So we've given students $340 million in a 2-year period. So I really don't know what else we can do right now. We've helped about as many people as we can help possibly. The numbers, when I look at these numbers and see that we've made over 100,000 awards, it's staggering to me. So, I mean, I think we've done good things. There's not much else we can do. When you're asking me if there's anything else we can do, and then we provided the mental health piece, which is counselors and then made all this transition to online, and our faculty and staff have clearly stepped up and helped students quite a bit here, quite a bit. So I don't know of any other college that's done as much as we have, just across the board. So.
And thank you, Dr. Head. And the board appreciates the effort that everyone in the administration and at the college campus level has done on this effort. We know it takes a lot of work. Trustees, any comments or questions before we move on? I think it's worth noting what we've done.
No.
I have a,
Trustee vote.
yeah, I have a request.
Mhm.
It showed the line that shows the faculty, full-time faculty versus part-time, and the total amount of funds allocated to that, to both of those, each of those.
The faculty?
Go
Or
back,
to
Yes.
students?
go back to the other slide. It's,
Yeah, if you could maybe go back 2 slides. This one.
In fact, it's on the
we don't have it broken down
page
by,
46.
Oh, in the financial report?
Oh.
Right.
If you could go back. The slide, I assume?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, it's page 46 in the agenda.
here, on that little iPad, it's different. Is that the one right there?
Yeah, that's it. I was wondering if we could, I know that we've got targets and probably COVID has thrown our targets off kilter, off target, for proportioning between full-time and part-time faculty.
Yes, I believe you are referring to, right, the ratio we typically look at of full-time
Yes.
faculty to adjuncts teaching
Right.
courses.
I'd like to see a kind of a tracking of that to see where we are now, like numbers of full-time, numbers of part-time. And I think because I mean, if you look at the budget allocations to the 2 different categories, I think it's be good to see that too, because that's
Yes,
the other side of the
We
coin.
I know when we
we have
do
all that
the-
information. We have it currently, and then we have it, we looked at it this morning. Then we have it projected for next year's budget. The way you used to see it, where we were projecting in the chart that we had, and then this fall, what it looks like. We have all that. We can get that to you like very quickly.
Okay.
We monitor that. We have exact numbers, so we know where we are, and we
Okay.
know where we're going to be in 3 years or 5 years. So
Well, how
we're not that-
how are you doing as far as your targets?
We're not that far
Um,
off, actually. I was just looking here. I don't have it on my iPad, but we're not that far off. We were striving for a 50-50 ratio. That was our goal, and we're not that far off. We were like 1 or 2 percentage points off, given everything. And I don't remember from this morning, we looked at so many things. You probably have it on your computer when you sit down over there. You can get it at the end of the meeting.
And I do believe that it has shifted slightly towards full-time faculty because our enrollments, our credit hours have declined throughout the COVID period.
Mhm.
So our number of sections have gone down. We have not, other than through some vacancy reductions back when we were in the middle of COVID and doing budget freezes. Otherwise, we have not done any significant reduction really in faculty positions.
Mhm.
So if I remember right, and I can get you those numbers, I believe it has actually shifted slightly towards the full-time faculty.
First, Mike Stomo.
Yes, sir, Mr. Summer.
When you distribute those to trustee vote, would you also include me? And maybe the suggestion here's a suggestion. I think this is a worthwhile report for all of us, especially post-COVID. because it kind of gives us a standard of where we've been and where we are. Maybe in the next board meeting, or certainly the one, what's May, June, maybe in the May or June board meeting, you have a presentation on this faculty, where we are and where we've been. Would that be asking too much? Because also, there's the issue of diversity, which we've talked about, a year or so ago, maybe it's a year ago more. I think it's time to review that. That's my opinion anyway.
Sure. We have all that. That's easy. So we can do that either at the budget workshop that we would have, the budget presentation in June that we have, or we can get that to you in the next meeting. We keep that information all the time. It's up to date. So.
Well, I'll take the information you're going to distribute to trustee vote. Then if you want to plan on doing that in June, that would be my recommendation, because I think we need to review it. I think we need to review it certainly annually as part of the budget consideration.
Can you distribute to all trustees, please?
Yeah, we'll send it to everybody. We'll send it to all board members. So.
Yes, and in June is typically when, right, we schedule a longer budget workshop to go through the outline of the proposed budget. And I certainly can I can provide it earlier as well, but that might be an appropriate moment to also talk through that in the context of the proposed budget.
That would be fine with me. I mean, because there's nothing critical that's going to happen between now and then. But I think, we're going back to so-called normal, right? So let's get back in the groove. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you, trustees. Trustee Soma, thank you, trustee Ayers Wilson. Appreciate it. And the administration will follow up. They'll send the information to all trustees, even those not present today. And then we will schedule it for discussion in June. Trustees, once you receive that report, you can always reach out to Ms. Mott or Dr. Head with any questions as well. Is that right, Dr. Head?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next item.
I did have 2 additional items
Yes,
that I
ma'am.
would like to share with the trustees, if I could. First, if I could have Shannon come on up. I would like to please introduce to everyone Dr. Shannon Vanencia. She is new to Lone Star College. She is our Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Financial Aid. She comes to us from Texas Tech University, where she was the Executive Director of Student Financial Aid and Scholarships. She has over 15 years of experience in the financial aid world. She earned her Doctor of Philosophy in Higher Education from Ohio University, a Master of Science in Adult Education from the State University of New York College at Buffalo, and a Bachelor of Arts in History from State University of New York at Fredonia. Shannon has served on many college leadership committees, has collaborated on numerous presentations on higher education and financial aid, and has been published in the Community College Review. If you don't mind, I would like her to just say hello and introduce
Absolutely. Yes,
herself.
ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you for that very nice introduction. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and my husband are very excited to move to the Houston area and get settled here. What I have found so far at my time in Lone Star is a whole lot of supportive and collaborative people who are really passionate about taking care of students. We have an excellent team of financial aid professionals who take care of our students. There's about 100 staff members and that have a really strong focus on compliance and making sure that students are taken care of. And I'm very excited to be here and lead the charge and help as many students as possible.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Trustee Murillo, any comments? Trustee Kane? Either? Okay.
Delighted to have you here. As the father of 2 Texas Tech graduates, I'm especially delighted to have you here.
It was not a hard sell to get her to move from Lubbock to Houston because, I went to Tech myself, so I know we were glad to see her move down.
The Red Raiders.
A few more opportunities of things to do in Houston outside of Lubbock too.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Trustee Sullivan, I also wanted to congratulate you and welcome. The role you take on is critical to us, and we appreciate that. And that's a lot of folks that work under you there in that program. So I want to make sure we encourage you and give you as much support as we can. You know, the success of our students, their ability to stay focused and maintain, succeed in their endeavors. It depends a lot on being able to pay for the courses, and if there's opportunities for us to help them, you know, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just wanted to congratulate you. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mott.
If I could share one additional item while I have you. I do want to announce that we have received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the FY22 budget report. This may sound similar to other awards I've mentioned, but this one, my team and I are particularly excited about because it is a new and different one. We do typically receive the GFOA award for financial reporting. We have received that consecutively for something like 14 or 15 years. This is the first time we have ever even applied for this award. And I want to say a huge thank you to the financial plan analysis team, the budget team that puts this report together. They set a very high bar for themselves to the point that they did not want to apply because they didn't think they would receive the award. I think they are such a great team that I challenged them to apply anyway. And so we are very excited that this is the first time that Lone Star College has received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the FY22 budget report. So I was very excited to share that with the trustees.
Well, Jennifer's up here. I told her today, so being in Austin for the last couple of days, they were showing reports that showed where all the colleges are on expenditures for FTE, on facilities and faculty and all the things that you see every year that you've been seeing for the last 4 years, where we show the comparisons. And they started showing them in Austin, and you would have thought that they just invented something. They're going, wow, we've not seen this kind of information before. And one of the commissioners asked me if I'd seen that. I said, well, we've been using that for the last 4 or 5 years, thanks to our CFO. So I complimented her today and her staff about using that kind of information. It's readily available. You just have to dig it out of there and show people and show them the facts. I mean, when you show them the facts, then it's easier to make decisions like that. So anyway, my compliments to your entire staff. Yeah.
Yes, I do want to make sure I mention my entire staff. It is not just thanks to the CFO. We have a great team. The PowerPoint presentations, the tables and charts that go into the budget report, that is definitely not something I personally am putting together. So there is a great team at Lone Star College here putting our budget reports and charts and things together. So a huge thank you to them for their work.
Jennifer, I want to thank you for your leadership as well, and encourage you to take your team to lunch. Tell them good job.
So quick question and then a comment, if you don't mind. Remind us what those initials stand for, please.
Sure. GFOA, it's Governmental Finance Officers Association.
Okay.
It's a national organization. And for example, the guidelines for receiving the award is that the budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. And we received good ratings in all 4 of those categories.
Outstanding. And then a comment, and that's that you said something that I believe in, and that's leadership. You said that your team had not applied because they didn't think I'm paraphrasing, but they didn't think they'd win. And you said, we're going to apply and we are going to lead. So the leadership you're providing, you may take it for granted, but it means a lot, because had you not pushed them and made that opportunity available to them, they would not have applied. You would not have won.
Agreed.
So good leadership on your part.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would like to add my congratulations as well for this very prestigious award. It represents a lot of really good, hard, smart work on the part of you and your staff. So congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. Thank you, Dr. Stoma. Dr. Stoma.
It's just Mr. It's just
Stoma.
Mr. Too many doctors in the room, man.
Goodness. Okay, so next, please, you have 2 more reports or 1 more report?
The building and grounds report is included in your board packet. If you
Okay.
ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Good. Thank you very much. Good job.
Thank you.
Trustees, we're now at the point of the agenda. Council, this is correct, right? For agenda items. Any suggested future agenda items by trustees? Let me go virtual to trustee Ayers Wilson and trustee Stoma. Any request?
Not
got-
at the time.
I've got
Okay.
one request. I don't know it needs to be an agenda item, but I'd like to have some type of report on the status of proposed policy changes. Because here a year ago, we were doing policy meetings on a number of changes, and my understanding, there were some outstanding items which haven't been addressed in a year now. And I guess first of all, I'm asking, are those still outstanding? And number two, are we going to address them? So that's my inquiry. I mean, you don't need an agenda item for it, but it needs attention.
Okay, trustee Stoma, Dr. Head is here and he heard you loud and clear.
We have a number of outstanding board policy items. I think, Mario, I'm looking at you, but we talked about this earlier this afternoon. So we'll get you a list. We'll get all the board members a list and get moving again. I mean, we put everything on hold because of COVID and just the way we're meeting with the board. So we'll follow up with that. Yes, to answer your question.
Yeah. Well, if we're going back to the future, back to normal, let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Stoma.
Yeah.
Trustee Rio, Kane, or vote any items for future agenda consideration? Seeing none, I think we're now at a point where I can announce the meeting's adjourned. Is that right,
Thank
council? Just, okay, very good. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, trustee Ayers Wilson, trustee Stoma, for participating and giving us a quorum. Trustee Murillo, trustee Kane, trustee Vogt, thank you for being here in person as well. This meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.